Hi, girls and boys. We learned so much about primary sources and secondary sources. I want to review together. What's a primary source? A first-hand source. Good. So here I have an article, actually from Mark Twain, a famous writer, and this is a primary source article. It's coming from his own point of view, and he's reflecting on his observations he did on the Jewish nation, the Jewish people. This text is a bit difficult and advanced for your level, so we're going to do a closed reading together. A closed reading is like this. We're gonna make annotations, and we're gonna highlight the main points of the essay, and we'll go through it together until slowly you get the hang of it, and you'll do it on your own. So with the difficult words I defined in the parentheses to make it easier for all of you. So we'll begin by I'm going to read the essay to you. If the statistics are right, the Jews they take up but 1% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous, unclear, dim, dark puff of stardust lost in the blaze fire of the Milky Way, the universe. Properly, the Jew ought hardly to be heard of, but he is heard of, has always been heard of. He is as prominent, as important on the planet as any other people. And his business importance is extravagantly, majorly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk, the smallness of his number. His contributions, what he gave over to the world's list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and obtrusive learning are also a way out of proportion to the weakness, the smallness of his numbers. He has made a great fight in the world in all the ages, and has done it all with his hands tied behind him. He could be in vain, he could be useless of himself, and they could be excused for it. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, with glory, then faded, they died away to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast great noise, and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch for a time, where they were great world powers, but have burnt out, and they sit in twilight now, or now have vanished, but now have disappeared. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and now is what he always was, exhibiting, showing no decadence, no rotting, no infirmities, no weaknesses of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive strong mind. All things are mortal, but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? This is quite a powerful article. So, to begin, I want to start by highlighting the main points of the article. I want to do this together. So who could help? What do you girls and boys think the main point of this article is? Jimmy? Yeah, that's a good point. Properly, the Jew ought hardly to be heard of, but he is always heard of, and he has always been heard of. So that shows that the Jew shouldn't be heard of because he's so small, but he has always been heard of. That's good. That's part of the question. Thank you, Jimmy. Anyone else has any suggestions? Clara. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out. They sit in twilight now, or now have vanished. That also brings part of the main point. How all the other nations were so strong and now they disappeared. That adds to the question a lot. We'll highlight that. It supports the main point. Okay, give me this one sentence that really summarizes this whole article that I want you to highlight. Good. Thank you, Jim. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? Good. That is the question of the whole article. That is the main point. There's a bunch of hard phrases in this article. So I want you first to go through it, and I want you to highlight in orange, actually, the hard phrases, and we'll start by going through them together. So I'll give you some time. And we'll go through annotations. We'll help define them to make it easier for you. Let's begin. The first sentence. If the statistics are right, the Jew constitutes 1% of the human race. What exactly does that mean? So let me tell you. This means if the statistics are right, according to the statistics, the counts, the Jews take up only 1% of the human race, means the world. The Jews are only 1% of the world's population. So I'd write that on the side of the annotation. I'll wait for you all to fill it in. Next sentence. It suggests a nebulous, unclear, dim, dark puff of the stardust lost in the blaze, the fire of the Milky Way, the universe. Properly, the Jew ought hardly to be heard of, but he is heard of and has always been heard of. So this is quite confusing. So this comes that there's, relative to the size, the Jew should be nothing. Like there can be a puff of stardust, which is dust, is nothing, in the blaze of the Milky Way, which is huge in the whole universe. So it's basically saying that the Jews should be nothing relative to their size. They should be unheard of. Now, I just gave you the first two. I want you girls and boys to help me with the rest. Let's go. And this is pretty, he is prominent on the planet of the sentence. Pretty, it's easier. Lauren, could you give me the next difficult point, which you, simile, metaphor, whatever it is? He has made a marvelous fight in the world in all ages and has done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be in vain of himself, and they could be excused for it. So what exactly does this mean? He could be in vain, he could be useless, and they could be excused for this. Could anyone help me interpret this statement? John? Exactly. The Jewish nation could have accomplished nothing, and no one would have said anything. Like you're getting excused, like you get excused late. No, it's fine. No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't count. Good. We'll do another one together. I want someone, let's see if I want a new hand. Anyone? Sally, good. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held a torch high for a time, but it burned out. They sit in twilight now, or now have vanished, now have disappeared. So yeah, that is quite a complicating sentence. It's written in high, more like a riddle, correct? So can you help, Sally? Can you help explain it to the class? Let's do it slowly. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast, great noise, and they are gone. Other people. So what does that mean? The Greek and the Romans were great powers. You go with like the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Persians. There were a lot of great powers in the world, and they were very loud. They made a big commotion. Everyone knew them. And where are they now? They're gone. Correct. Good, you got it. There have been many great nations all throughout the ages that are now left with no remnants. Good, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted you to say. So now I want to pair you up, go in your regular partners, your literature partners, and I want you to together try to figure out the last two annotations that we highlighted together, and we'll review it after. I'm going to call on girls to come present to the class. And you're all going to have to hand it in. So write it on I would have you write it on a small paper, and I'm going to mark them and go through them. I'll give you some time. Okay, please hand in all your papers. I'm going to go through them. Look at them quickly. And I'm going to read out loud the ones that I feel were the best. Sam and Dora, I like what you did with this sentence. I'm going to read this out loud. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and now it is what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no rotting, no infirmities of age, no weaknesses of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind, strong mind. So they wrote over here, the Jews on the other hand, have remained all throughout the ages and are still strong. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. That summarizes the point. Thank you. You all seem like you gave them really good suggestions. The last sentence is a bit difficult, but I want you to try to read this together. And I'm going to give you questions to do in peers also. And I want you to be able to do these questions together with your partner. And this is a basis of one of the questions. I'm not going to explain the last sentence. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? So I don't want to, I'll define, if none of you come up with the right answer, I'll help you. We'll do it together. But therefore, I want you to figure out from the context, what does mortal mean? So let's go through the questions. You'll do it in your same partners. So I see you girls and boys did a really good job. What is Mark Twain's question at the end of the article? Copy over from the text. This one we'll do together. So the end question is the sentence that just said, all things are mortal but the Jew, all other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? So that is the summarizing question. You could fill that in. 2, we'll do together. Which nation has existed throughout the ages? So I want you to look through the article and find which nations you see has existed throughout the ages. Who can help me? Laura, the Greeks. Harry, the Romans. Good. A little before, we missed some. Sally, the Egyptians. John, good, the Babylonians. We can find one more. Sarah, the Persians. Good. Now the rest I want you to complete on your own. I'll read you the questions. I want you to complete on your own with your partners. And then we'll read the article together and review the main points. So were they great in numbers? This nation that, oops. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. This question is which nation, number 2 you'll fill out by 5. I'm sorry, this is my mistake. Which nation were big superpowers? And number 2 is which nation has existed throughout the ages? You'll do that with your partners. All the nations we mentioned before were big superpowers, but one nation that wasn't such a big superpower, they were the ones that existed throughout the ages. So I'm asking about this nation, were they great in numbers? And from which words do you know that? From which words in the text do you know it? I want you to write the exact words. In what areas, what fields has the nations made contributions, help to the world? So this we already did. Which nation were big superpowers? We filled out. What is the definition of mortal? So this is a bit of a difficult question. I want you to see if you can figure it out. What are examples of things that are mortal? So we're going to review number 6 right away. So then if whoever didn't get number 6 can understand number 7. So what are examples of things that are mortal? Why does Mark Twain label this nation as immortal? So I want you to work through partners, and I'll be walking around if you have any questions. Thank you.